Welcome back to the Creating Distance podcast hosted by TA Sales. I'm your host, Tom Alaimo. Some people call me Tommy Tahoe. And each week on Fridays, we'll be bringing you an episode to break down with salespeople and sales leaders the top tips, tactics, strategies, stories that you need to get to the next level of your career and up-level yourself. So let's get into it.
So Tom worked at Gong. He'll tell you his story a little bit, but worked at Gong as a salesperson, now owns his own company, hyper successful, all over LinkedIn, runs a training situation for a lot of sales teams. Talked with him last year and showed him what our SDR stuff is and got his input. So he's cool. Has been very, like I said, successful in starting his own business in sales. So I thought it would be really good for you guys to hear from him on this next round of these little things we're doing. Tom, this is our sales team. So we've got account execs here, some managers here, and then brand new SDRs that started, 6 weeks ago? So we got a kind of mix in here. So we'll leave it to you.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, it's great. I mean, it's great to meet everyone. I want to make this as fruitful of a 30 minutes as we can. So I love a good Q&A, a good back and forth. So if y'all have come in with questions or thoughts or topics you want to get into, let's do that. But maybe just a quick background. Thanks for the intro, Gabby. So yeah, I mean, put simply, I'm obsessed with the craft of sales. I grew up a very introverted person growing up. I ended up selling Cutco knives in college. Any chance there's a Cutco knife person in the room? Damn. Okay. Or anything door to door security. Okay, we got one in the back. All right, nice. So that was me when I was 19, selling slinging knives door to door. And to me, that just opened up the world to me. It helped me gain confidence. I ended up making some good money that summer and brought me down the sales path. So I spent about 8 years in software sales. At first, I had a company called Tech Target. Then I was at Gong, as Gabby mentioned. Left there about 2.5 years ago to start a sales training and consulting business. And so we've worked with some of the fastest growing companies in tech. We've trained reps at companies like Salesforce and Databricks, Manhattan Associates, some startups that you might have heard of like Pandadoc and Vidyard and smaller companies like that. To me, I think it really all comes down in sales to what we say oftentimes is how do you get 1% better every day? And so typically when I introduce myself to teams, I start with everyone has kind of their highlight reel of all the good stuff that they've done. But I still, I remember when I made my first ever cold call when I was 19, we were in a big conference room and just dialing and trying to set meetings. And when people answer the phone, I would hang up on them. And when you're in a commission only job, that is a pretty terrible way to make money, is hanging up on potential prospects, because I was just so nervous and anxious about it. As an AE, in my first meeting that I had with a prospect, I brought my sales manager on and, we went around the room for, introducing ourselves. And then for the next hour, I stayed quiet. I didn't say a single word the rest of the time, but I remember I ate 2 turkey sandwiches. And so, there's some of these humbling moments in sales that we all have. And, to me, I think it's, what's helped me is just try to be a learning machine, try to get better every day. There's some more tactical examples that I'm happy to share on some of that stuff. But I don't know if anyone's coming in here with certain questions or thoughts and kind of want to read the room too, to make sure that I'm not just jabbering on for 30 minutes.
What do we got for Tom? What do we want to know?
I mean, how's everyone's quarter looking? How's the summer slowdown going? Are we getting meetings? Are we closing deals? What's happening?
It's slow. It's slower in the summer.
It's slower in the summer. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your outreach? What does your outreach look like?
My outreach. So I'm a big believer in a few things. Number one, having a really, really targeted list. So getting as specific on that list as possible. Number two, everything is problem based. So, I very rarely talk about what we do when I'm sending out a cold email, maybe in one sentence. And then everything is multi-channel. So I'm calling, email, LinkedIn, I've started some direct mail. I've started doing some crumpled letters. I don't know if y'all have ever seen that on LinkedIn send videos. I try to be as creative as possible. And I found for me personally, selling to sales leaders the last 5 years, that LinkedIn is where they hang out. So that has proven, to work pretty well for me. I imagine y'all are selling to all different types of people for the different events and everything. And so you might want to just like focus on where those people are, like where do they hang out? Like I have some clients that prospect a ton on Reddit or do like Facebook groups or different things like that. So I think it kind of depends where your prospects are. But what are you guys doing outreach wise, and like what's landing meetings, what's not? What have you tried recently that's new?
Well, we do a lot of emails. We're using outreach right now to send, cadences. We've run into some deliverability issues, so we're trying to like limit the number of emails we send per day.
Yep.
We call when we can. People don't pick up the phone as much as they used to. LinkedIn, we've been doing texting, like texting a prospect to follow up with them, making sure they got the email. But I'm interested in the Reddit thing you just said. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, also, Tom, keep in mind we are selling in CROs. That's like a huge decision maker for us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think to me, I don't know. The teams that I have worked with that have used something like Reddit are selling more to like a more technical buyer, like in IT or development or something like that, which I don't know if that's any of you guys, but as it relates to CROs, like to me, are you doing a lot on LinkedIn? Like, are y'all DMing, commenting? Is that working? Sending videos?
I don't think you guys are commenting. Talk about your social selling. You're really good at that. Talk about how you do that.
Yeah. So, I've been like, part of it is posting content and stuff like that. But even if you're not, like most of the people, like there maybe 10% of you are interested in doing posts and all that stuff. So like for the most part, you can still be very effective social selling, even if you're not going to be one of those like creating content and all that type of stuff. What I would do is sales nav or just regular LinkedIn.
Sales nav.
Sales nav. Okay, cool.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they do both. So we have sales nav where they could do
Okay.
emails, but also, of course, LinkedIn, normal LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, yeah. So with SalesNap, are y'all doing like specific lead filters and following leads and stuff like that on there, or is it mostly emails?
It's like a mix. I mean, we do a lot. You can do a lot of lead sourcing off of Sales Navigator, but we also do a lot of in-mail off of Sales Nav too.
Okay. I've never really had much success with in-mails, to be honest with you. But I used SalesNap a ton for creating lists off of like the lead list filters and the account list filters. And then like what I'll do is I'll start my day with like 10 to 15 minutes of like what I would call social listening. So let's say I've got my target list, my dream list of, top 50 accounts, and I've got 3 to 5 people from each of those accounts that I've got saved. Maybe it's CRO, maybe it's VP of sales, and then maybe it's like someone that's like adjacent to them. Like for me, sometimes it's like a RevOps person or an enablement person or a demand gen person that might, be the manager of SDRs. So take that with a grain of salt. But I try to like get a decent sized buying team that I'm following all of them, and I'll just go on there and just be scanning through and seeing like where are some of these folks posting, and then like the first step is that I want to do some sort of like a comment to get like some name recognition, and then like to me that's the personalization that I want to put on my email and my call and my LinkedIn and my DM, because everyone's sending out the same like generic stuff. And so I find that like even putting in an extra 10% of effort, 20% of effort into your outreach is blowing away all of like the AI SDRs and AI, AEs that like we're all getting spam emails about. So just doing like a small thing of seeing their posts or seeing like, was someone on the team at their company on a podcast recently, or, go to ChatGPT, get the top 3 bullets, put that as part of your email. Like small things like that to me are what's standing out, because everyone is, pretty pissed off, honestly, about like all the spam that everyone's receiving. And so I think that extra step, that's why I'm trying to do some more like in-person direct mail, hosting a dinner, things like that, that are a little bit more intimate as well and a little bit more personable, because people, I think, are wanting more of that human connection in sales than just getting like blasted by, very generic messaging.
Do you do a lot of like cold outreach over text? Like we've been trying to, like I've been having the team try to do a lot of cold outreach over text, and it's been like kind of mixed results and success. What are your thoughts on like cold approach and cold texting, like with that kind of process?
I don't personally do it, but I'm intrigued. Tell me, like, so is this an in response, or is this just like another step in an outreach sequence where it's like step 7, text Gabby, something?
It's like kind of a mix. Sometimes, like if you get a cold call with a prospect or whatever, and you don't get the call set, and they bin you or something like that. Maybe you do a cold text or a text after that. We've been trying to do some just general cold texting too, with like people that maybe you've emailed and LinkedIn that haven't gotten back to you, as just another touch point to get it across the point that you're trying to get across and get them to respond. I've just been finding it's hard to outrun a text, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think going after a younger demographic, I think it can work. And I've done it before as like a replacement of a voicemail. So I'll try the call. And some people's voicemail even says just like, hey, text me or something like that. So I will text them and keep it a tight, like 2-sentence thing. Hey, this is Tom reaching out about X. What are your thoughts? Or, happen to shoot you an email or something like that. I do have a client that this is random, and I only know this one example, so I can't say if it's worked at scale, but he found a buyer that he saw on one of his social medias that he was a big golfer. And so he just started, I think his first text was like, hey, see you're a big golfer. What's your handicap? And the guy responded, and he's like, I'm a 12. And then they just went back and forth about golf for like 5 texts. There's a stranger, didn't even introduce who he was. And then he ended up getting a meeting with him. So I think that stuff would play if someone was prospecting me. Like, yeah, sure, I'll take the bait on that. I'm not confident that, like, not to make it an age thing, but I'm not confident that someone more senior in their career, a CRO of a billion-dollar company, is going to respond to that. But it's worth a shot, and I think like half of the game of outbound is just like running experiments like that and seeing what lands and running with it. But if people aren't getting mad at you, then, and if it lands a couple of responses, then it's worth keeping, I think.
You mentioned voicemails.
Yeah.
Do you do that a lot? Does it work for you? Because we historically don't do voicemails, but some people have been doing it a little bit, but kind of curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. What do you use to call? Outreach? Or do you have like a dialer?
Via. It's just like a landline.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The reason I ask is because there's some tools that like they have you call like 5 people at once. I don't know if you've heard of that.
We've heard of that.
And
It's a joke because they want a dialer now, but you want a dialer.
Brian.
I'm against the dialers, but
okay.
Because there's with us, we sell personality is a huge part of it. Like I cannot understand how. Anyway, okay. So do you do the talk about the voicemails then?
Yeah. Voice. I do. I like a voicemail. I would do it. So I probably have a sequence or sequences that look like yours in outreach, that are 10 to 12 steps over 20 days. Like there's best practices around that. And so the first, I'd say 2, maybe 3 calls, I'm going to leave a voicemail. And I never ask for a callback. And I rarely there's probably very few people in the room that get a consistent callback from a voicemail, but I do get sometimes an email response. And like, that's where my voicemail strategy is just like, I'm trying to point them to the most likely place that they're going to respond. And the least amount of friction for someone to respond is in a message. It's not like them to pick back up the phone and call me. That's a lot of effort for someone. So I would say something like, hey, Gabby, was just trying to reach you, saw that you were hiring some, new SDRs on the team. I had an idea for you. No need to call me back. I just sent you an email. The subject line is Purple Panda. Hope to catch you there. So to me, like, I want to be quick about why I'm calling. I want to get some sort of like intrigue. I didn't even mention my company name because I don't think that's important. And then I'm trying to point her to an email, and hopefully it has like a kind of obscure email subject line so that she's like, what the hell is this Purple Panda? And that does get some responses too of like, then I'll shoot her an email. Hey, just tried to ring you, but I gotta like tie in Purple Panda somehow to that email, or I'll have like, something related to Gabby as a basketball player in the past or something like that, that might get her attention. So I think like, yeah, when you sell to sales leaders, they respect the hustle and they respect the creativity and the personal, connection and like showing your personality a little bit more. So that's why I feel like things like, I've seen people that are good drawers and they'll draw a freaking caricature of the person and like send that in an email. I know people that do a lot of videos and videos play well. I've talked about direct mail. Can I just show you real quick?
Yeah.
Are we in on looking at something about direct mail?
Yeah, let's see. We've never done it, but I'm intrigued.
If I share my screen, will you be able to see it on your room?
Yeah.
All right, this is a real thing that a client of mine does. He's in a different space. Selling he's selling to physical locations. So he's selling to like real estate, car dealerships, people. So like you have to have someone in an office. Obviously, I'm not going to send this to someone's house, but he's sending what he calls the crumpled letter campaign. Okay, let me try to make this bigger. And so you might not be able to read that email, but the basic thing is like he's typing this out, he's crumpling it up, and then he's putting it in a brightly colored envelope. And basically, like the first sentence of the email is like, "Let's get this out of the way. I pre-crumpled this email or this letter because most outreach that you get is absolute garbage. So if you don't mind giving me 20 seconds, like here's why I'm reaching out." And then he's got like a couple bullets of like, "Hey, we do this, this, and this." And then it's like in red is like kind of the value prop. "Hey, we worked with other customers like you." And then, he has some examples where he has a picture of himself or like a QR code. This one just has his name, his phone, and his signature. And then he'll send out email of like, "Hey, I just sent you, or like 3 days later, I sent you the crumpled letter in the, green envelope." Then he'll call and say, "Hey, did you get anything interesting in the mail?" And I'm not kidding. He books hundreds of thousands of pipeline and closes deals from this. It's insane. And so since he told me about this earlier this year, I've started to do it. I just sent out my first batch last week. So it's too early for me to say if it's working or not. But this is the kind of stuff that like, if this is your style, like go for it. When I've lived in the same city as prospects, like I've done a drop off where I've like dropped off a letter and some cold brew or something like that on a Friday morning. Like that's the style that I think, in my opinion, is working, especially with sales leaders, because everyone just knows it's a really, really hard time to sell and book pipeline. And so it's like you've got to do things that are outside the norm and maybe a little bit bizarre to get people's attention.
What do you do for videos? I'm curious. You talk about videos a little bit. Like, are you sending those over LinkedIn? I've seen some like people do LinkedIn videos and stuff like that. I'm curious what you have seen work with that.
Yeah, I've done it on LinkedIn and then also on email. So I've used, if you use either Vidyard or Loom, they have free editions that you can get 25 free videos, and you can even just like keep deleting them and redoing them. So like you could probably work off that free plan for a long time. But I won't do it in the first email in a sequence because of deliverability stuff. So I'll probably do it as like maybe my third email or my second LinkedIn touch. So, I might send like problem-based email, and then I might send like some sort of a bump that gives some examples of other clients I've worked with. And then I might like try a pattern interrupt email with the video in it. And like, to me, that's just, I'm trying to break up all the other emails that they've seen or all the other LinkedIn messages that they've seen. And like all of a sudden, boom, there's my face embedded in there. And I just keep it simple. It's like 45 seconds. First 10 is like, "Hey, this is who I am." The next 25 is like, here's the value prop, almost like what you would say in an email or a cold call. And then, "Hey, if you're interested, like respond to this email. Would love to set up some time." And I've seen that work too. I know some reps that do like 80% of their meetings get booked off of video. I'm not that good at it, but I definitely like have seen a good number of people respond, especially on LinkedIn, because it's a little bit more unique there. And it's just everything is text based. So it's just like one more opportunity to stand out in the sea of text based emails and text based LinkedIn messages.
Tom, I have a question for you. Outside, like I think what would be cool to hear for them from you is what do you feel like? So obviously you were very successful when you were at Gong and things were going well for you and you loved it there. Like what made you successful in that role? But also like where do you feel like what drives you in terms of sales? Like where do you feel like your differentiator is? What makes it so that because I feel like yeah, you started this company, that's success as it is. But what was your like factor about you that really made you successful in the roles that you were in?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think I think there's a lot of different one of the beauties of sales is that everyone in your room like has a different personality, different skill set, introvert, extrovert, more of a data nerd, funny, whatever it is. And anyone can be successful, kind of like following whatever their own style is. So I think for me, the first few years of my career, I really focused a lot on like the art of sales. And so that's a little bit of the softer skills. And it's more just like having empathy, being curious in conversations, building relationships with people, some of that like old school Dale Carnegie type stuff. And I think that was a good measure for me. I was very goal oriented and just made sure that like, all right, if my thing is 100 calls a day, like I'm going to do that, and I just kind of followed the playbook. And then at Gong, what the big differentiator was like, all right, sales is it. Yes, there's an art to it, but there's a science to it. And there is true data that says it takes on average, 8.2 touches for you to reach someone cold. So it doesn't matter if your first email's amazing. Chances are that CRO just didn't even see it. So you've got to give yourself more at bats. Or for the AEs in the room, like there is a right and wrong way to run a discovery process, right? And like if I get to quantifiable pain on that first call, like my chances of winning skyrocket. If I get 5 people involved in a deal versus 2, my win rate skyrockets. I can accelerate my deal cycle. So I think it's like really trying to understand what are like the few things that make the best person on my team. Like, let me go find who's doing the best at the SDR job or the AE job at the company. And like, if I had to boil it down to 2 or 3 things that they do really, really well, how do I get good at those things? So if y'all are like, your best SDR is killing it on cold email. Great. What is she doing? And like, how can I steal what she's doing and like try to add a little bit to it? Or same with the AE playbook. And I think that's what it's all about. It's like, it's always changing. And, I do think finding some of these like little areas that stand out and make you unique with a buyer matters. So it's like, just being timely on your follow-ups, sending follow-ups the same day, offering like, if you need to get like a reference or something like that as part of the sales process, or, creating a video mid-sales cycle to walk them through the proposal or whatever it might be. Like, I do think just trying new things and really taking a step back and seeing like, all right, for my own game, like what's working, what's not, and trying to just keep tweaking, I think it's not rocket science, really. It's like, it's not like anything probably, Gabby, that you're not already saying and that y'all haven't already read on LinkedIn or in a book or on a great podcast. But I think it is just like all the little things that stack up that make you a great salesperson. And then the last thing I'll say is like, it's a tough job. You get a lot of rejection. Even if you're the best salesperson in the world, you're going to miss your number sometimes in a month or a quarter. And you've just got to find a way to keep like playing a long game and know that you can bounce back and try to stay as even keeled mentally, because I've seen a lot of great salespeople, have a bad quarter and then it ruins the rest of their year, or even have a bad day and it ruins the rest of their month. And so just finding a way to keep yourself like feeling good outside of work so that you can show up with good energy, I think is half the battle.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned earlier that you have 10 to 20 steps in your sequence on outreach, if I heard correctly. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because our average is like a 3 to 4 step.
Yeah, I would. So my standard one would have like 10 to 12 over 20 days. And the reason for that is like what I said is that, the data shows me that on average it takes, I think, eight touches to reach someone cold. That's the average. Every person's different and all that stuff. But, if I send one good email, like Gabby might be on vacation. Like Gabby is someone that I would try to sell to by title, and she's really busy. She's in meetings all day and she's traveling and doing this. So it's hard for me to say, like, I'm going to add her on LinkedIn. I'm going to send one email and make one call. And I might have just like picked the entirely wrong week to do that. She might have personal things going on. Who knows? So I really want to just like extend the life a little bit of my sequence so that I can try to reach her with the right message at the right time. And I don't know if Gabby goes on LinkedIn a lot. I don't know if she likes a cold text or hates a cold text, or she likes video or doesn't. Like, I don't know her if she's a cold prospect. So that's why I want to throw a bunch of different ideas at her and span that out over a couple different weeks to increase my chances. And then once I get to that like 10, 11, 12, and I don't hear anything, then I'll cut bait, because that's a lot of effort. But I do want to give myself that chance.
When you're going into the 10, 12 step, because like 3 or 4 we've got figured out. And of course, you're trying to cold call the whole time, right? Of course. But
yeah,
I think with us, like maybe something you guys are struggling with is figuring out like what is that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th message? Are you saying the same thing? Are you switching up what you're saying? Are you tying it back to something? Like where do you see the most success when you're getting to those several touch points?
Yeah, and just to clarify too, I'm not saying 12 emails. So like it could be 5 emails, 3 LinkedIn touches, a video, a couple calls, maybe go crazy with this direct mail. So 12 emails is a lot. I'm not suggesting that you do that for every prospect, but if you're making a bunch of calls, I do think for me, what I try to do is find, all right, if I'm selling to a CRO, what are his or her top 3 problems? And how can I have like a great email, 1 or 2 for each of those 3 problems? And so there's 6 right there. So I might have like, here's what you care about, like creating pipeline for your team, 1 written one, and then like a video or a bump email. Then I have one about like, all right, you're hiring an onboarding reps on the team. What's my verbal or what's my written message? And then what's my video, or maybe you'll throw a meme in there if that's your style or whatever it is. And then maybe you have a 3rd problem. So that's what I would try to do via email, LinkedIn. I would do like 1 connection request and then throw 1 other message at them. And then maybe you throw a video and then a handful of calls, and then you're at, that 10 to 12. So that's normally what I'm doing.
Yeah, I actually have 1 more question. For our case, where we're not selling like a solution, we're selling an event. Like, how do you approach that where it's not like, hey, we can help you fix this? It's more like, do you want to get in front of these people?
I think it's what he's trying to convey is it's a problem they're solving. So what are the problems that these CEOs and CROs are trying to solve? They're trying to get pipeline quick, and that's the point of the event. They're trying to bang that out in 2 days rather than have a deal timeline that takes 8 months to 12 months, right? So how can we speed up the deal timeline? Think about it like that, right? Like, what problems can you solve for a team that's trying to drive pipeline? It's not just about driving pipeline, but it's about driving it quickly, getting them in front of people that are active buyers, right? Like, those are the things I would focus on there.
Yeah, I definitely.
Go ahead.
What's your take on like subject lines?
Oh, sorry. We're at 11:30. Do you have like 5 more minutes, or are you jumping into something else?
I just told these folks that I'll be 3 minutes late. So
Okay,
that's cool.
we got 3 minutes. So do you have something?
Just
Okay.
subject.
I guess last question
Yeah.
here. Go ahead.
And
Subject
I'll
line
touch
and
on
then
the one.
first,
Sorry, subject line. And sorry to cut you off.
and the first line of like an email or LinkedIn, like both. I guess it's a 2-part question. Like your
Yeah.
take on it.
Yeah.
Should it be personal? Should it be, I know it could go any different way and depends on what market it is and what. Sure. Quick take.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it depends, but I have a strong opinion of how to do it. You're trying to get someone's attention. So if we go into like the mind of your buyer, they open up their inbox, they might have 204 unread emails, and so their mindset is they're scanning and just seeing like, which of these do I not have to delete? And so the term that I did not create this term, but I really like it, is like internal camouflage. how do you make it look like it's from a peer of theirs or from a colleague? So to me, I usually do like 1 to 3 words. I like doing it lowercase, and I don't want it to be clickbait, but I want to drive some intrigue. So like it has to be relevant to the email, but it's not going to be like how to 10x your sales performance by going to an event or something like that. Like that's written by a salesperson or by a marketer. So if I was selling sales training and I was pitching it to Gabby, my subject line might be like your team's pipeline, all lowercase, or your pipeline or something like that, where it's just like, well, what about it? And then the first sentence, I want it to be, that's like the most personalized part of the email, in my opinion, because if they look at that and they see like hope all is well or happy Monday, that's just wasted real estate. So I want to see like, can I capture the attention? So usually that's like an observation that I have. Gabby, saw you're hiring 8 SDRs, saw your LinkedIn post about X, noticed this, heard you on a podcast talking about that. And then I get to like, here's the problem. So for them, it's like, it's the same thing we're talking about. It's like their sales team is probably struggling to get new pipeline. And so you all are the solution to that problem by creating these like really tight, engaged, experiences that can help, a sales team drive way more pipeline and meetings. And so, yeah, personalized problem, what's in one sentence, your solution, and then a call to action, keep it like 5 sentences. And to me, that's like the formula for a good cold email.
Thank you so much. And thanks for running over time. Guys, yeah, you're the best. I really appreciate it. And I'll chat with you offline, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Have a great day, y'all. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for checking out that episode. 2 quick things as a takeaway. Number 1, we would feel honored if you left a review wherever you're listening to this podcast, if it's on Spotify or Apple or YouTube, to just let us know how we're doing, what else you'd like to see. If you'd like to learn more about us, you can check us out at tasales.co. Love to hear from you there. Much love. Have a great week.